Joining us now is former Education Secretary Betsy Devos. Betsy, welcome to The Bottom Line. Thanks for joining us. So give us your take. We've spent tons of money sent to schools, but here, schools were shut down, and we now see the results, which I think you predicted, failing grades in American education.
No, absolutely. During the pandemic, when kids were locked out of their schools for months on end, or were, forced to learn in less than ideal conditions, remotely, in and out of school, the results have been devastating. But they've also laid bare the fact that our schools, our system has been failing too many kids for many, many years before this. Test scores plummeted, but they were plummeting well before the pandemic. Again, it really laid bare the failings of the system, and yet the system continues to hold kids hostage to more money for all of their pet projects. They got $190 billion in COVID relief. They don't have any idea how to spend it all, but yet they're holding town halls last night talking about teacher pay instead of how kids are going to get back on track and learning again.
And Betsy, the Washington Post article about this learning loss never mentioned the unions, never mentioned the teachers' unions. And it's not just the learning loss, it's the fact of the mental health problems, particularly of young women. This is the CDC, but 30% of teenage girls say they have seriously considered suicide, according to the latest numbers out of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And some of that is directly a function of the lockdowns, of isolation.
Absolutely it is. And it's just another indicator of why parents need to be in charge and in control of their kids' education. It's why we're seeing the momentum around education freedom policies taking off like wildfire across the states. In Arizona and Iowa and Nevada, soon to be Florida, many states are either expanding or starting programs to empower families to do just that. They need to have the say, and they need to be able to decide when and where their children are going to learn best and are going to be connected, because that's what it comes down to with all of these mental health challenges.
Betsy, it's a good point. Listen, I want my kids to get an education, math, science, English. I don't want the political indoctrination from the left. So I think you're right. You're seeing more families, and you worked on this before you were with the administration, to allow kids to get to charter schools or other schools outside the public system so they can get a good education, which is a pathway to the middle class in America.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've seen a lot of creativity on the part of parents who, out of necessity during the pandemic, did their own thing. And we need to have policies that are going to support them continuing to do that and empower more families to have those choices and options for micro schools or learning pods or home schools or whatever they feel is best for their children.
So true. Betsy Devos, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.